Uh, uh, I am Professor D.M. Banerjee and has been asked to moderate this today's webinar. We know that today is the World Environmental Day. In conformity with this environmental concern, we have assembled here to listen to Dr. Rawat, who will talk to us the link between environmental protection and geoheritage conservation. Both of these concerns not only our present generation, but need to be preserved and protected for the posterity. In our last webinar, 3 heritage park candidates were discussed, namely the Pin Valley in Spiti, Kasoli in SP, and Dehradun in UK. In a follow-up discussion, it emerged that size of a park is not important. This was pointed out by Dr. Rajshekhar Reddy. Therefore, in Dr. Reddy's words, in geopark, concept of conservation is the objective, while the tourism is the means to achieve it. This clearly matches with my own idea of designing the geotraverses across a specific region, interlinked through geological, archaeological, and cultural sites. It is very true that conserving and protecting and maintaining a large chunk of land is impossible in the Indian context, where no such laws exist. And to enact a new law, we need support from people who are not even scientists. So, we'll listen to a talk by Dr. Rawat, and let me introduce Dr. Rawat to the audience. Dr. Rawat is an eminent taxonomist, wildlife biologist, and conservationist. He is an alumni of Kumaon University. He obtained his DSc degree in 2007. He has trained young conservationists across many countries. He is presently working with the Wildlife Institute of India, located at Dehradun, where he occupies the prestigious position of a dean. He was elected to the Fellowship of the National Academy of Sciences, NASI, Allahabad. He has undertaken collaborative researches with many national and international organizations. He is rated as one of the top ecologists of the country, especially dealing with the Himalayan ecosystem. His work in Nepal and Bhutan Himalaya attracted worldwide attention. As a teacher, he has mentored several PhD theses of different universities. He is a member of several national and international scientific bodies. His great passion for field-level investigation has inspired an entire generation from army to academy. Now I call Dr. Rawat to present his talk.
Thank you very much, Professor Banerjee, and good evening, everyone. I hope my presentation is on the screen and everyone can listen to me.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So it is a great honor and privilege to talk to all of you learned scientists and scholars this evening. On the recommendation of Dr. Narendra Prasad, I have chosen this topic, conserving the cultural and natural heritage sites in the Indian Himalayan region. This topic is somewhat, it aligns with the theme of this year's World Environment Day, which says that, for the problems of human beings, nature has several things to offer. Nature has to be respected because it gives not only supports a lot of biodiversity, but also it provides numerous ecosystem services, be it cultural or any aesthetic or spiritual or any other pleasure that we draw from the nature. So in my presentation, I will briefly deal with the biocultural heritage of the Himalaya, current thinking about nature and the culture, the connect between the two, existing and proposed heritage sites in the Indian Himalayan region, which have been sort of recognized by the UNESCO's Cultural Commission. Then, if at all such sites are listed, what are the management issues and challenges, particularly in the context of India? And what way we can involve local communities and the larger section of the society to manage such sites. So I hope I will have about 40 to 45 minutes to talk about this topic, and then we can have some brief question answer or discussion section. I hope I am clear so far. Shall I proceed further?
Yes, you proceed further, please.
Okay. And I hope everyone can listen to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, as everybody knows, I need not repeat this. Himalaya is a global asset. All of know about its fascinating geological history, its complexity of ecosystems, its fragility, and diversity of nature, culture, and life forms, biodiversity, so to say. And this arc ranging from the Pakistan, there is a place Nanga Parvat to Namche Barwa in the east. It is one of the most astounding natural features. I need not repeat this. But besides the biological and other structural diversity, this region has a great deal of cultural diversity and ethnic diversity. And when we combine culture and nature with the ethnobiological diversity, we call it a biocultural diversity. So the cultures, the languages, indigenous local knowledge, and all spiritual benefits people draw from the Himalayan region falls under biocultural diversity. A few pictures given here, they depict the nature and the culture and the way the people in the mountains respect not only the rocks but also natural features, plants and animals, and the watersheds or all the natural objects that I need not repeat. Now, coming to the current global thinking about the connect between nature and culture, all the scholars here are aware that the biodiversity and ecosystem services have been equated with the nature's benefit to people, and the nature and all the components of nature, living as well as non-living, are considered Mother Earth's intrinsic values, and whatever we draw from there, from whatever either ecosystem benefits or any other gifts, they enhance quality of life, and then living in harmony with nature and living well in balance and harmony with Mother Earth is the ultimate, the motto for the human beings, if you may like to interpret. And this kind of framework basically allows people from all walks of life, and it calls for larger participation and movement from the grassroots and the basic people who actually live off nature, till about the highest policymakers or research people. So everyone has to follow the similar principles. So that is the current thinking. Now coming to back to the certain conventions which allows the countries and governments to designate their areas as unique sites. The most popular one is the World Heritage Conservation of the UNESCO. It was adopted in 1972, and it is one of the important international legal instruments for protection of both cultural and natural heritage. And it is based on the international cooperation in favor of promotion of peace and recognition of cultural diversity around the earth. And under this convention, then several countries have proposed a large number of natural and cultural sites to be enlisted under this convention. And they are called properties according to UNESCO's definition, and they may be classified under natural properties, mixed cultural and natural properties, cultural landscapes, or any other things. So all these things are categorized under various categories. So for the World Heritage Sites, there are in total 10 important criteria. From criteria number 1 to 6 are called cultural criteria, like Taj Mahal, this hanging wall of Pisa, and so many other, Eiffel Tower and the Statue of Liberty and so on. But under the natural criteria, unique, ecological phenomena, geological features, and natural features, everything from 7th to 10th fall under natural criteria. And one might ponder what are the actual benefits of enlisting a site under the World Heritage Site. When we recognize such a site, and when we enlist such sites as a World Heritage Site, it automatically boosts the national pride, and they become iconic sites, and the national governments and the local communities can feel proud of it. And it helps in strengthening protection and long-term conservation due to national commitments and international support. It provides opportunities for access and interchange of knowledge, experience, staff exchange, training opportunities, and so on. So there are so many other benefits. I will not get into detail. Now, talking about a few existing and proposed World Heritage Sites in the Indian Himalayan region, because this is the main topic of my presentation. All of you might have heard about Indian Himalayas first World Heritage Site, that is Nanda Devi and Valley of Flowers National Parks. This Nanda Devi was inscribed in 1988, but one adjacent small protected area called Valley of Flowers National Park was sort of annexed to Nanda Devi National Park, And both the properties, even though they are separate entities, but both of them fall under Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. These areas are exceptionally beautiful from the geological, from ecological and biological point of view. The upper slide, the triangular peak shown here was taken, this picture was taken by me from a peak in Himachal Pradesh. If you look towards northeastern side of the Himalaya, you get this view early in the morning before sunrise. The Nanda Devi peak can be seen on way from, if you fly from Delhi to Leh, if you sit on the right side of aircraft on the clear day, this peak is very, very clearly visible, because it's not only biologically but also culturally very important site, in at least in Uttarakhand. All the scholars know that Uttarakhand has two cultural divisions, Garhwal and Kumaon. Traditionally, they were rivals, but Nanda Devi is the unifying force. Both the goddess Nanda Devi is the reigning deity for Uttarakhand, and people from Garhwal as well as Kumaon worship her. So this is the aura of Nanda Devi. Similarly, the lower left-hand side, you see a small picture. Both the pictures at the bottom are from the world-famous Valley of Flowers National Park. This park, Valley of Flowers, is located in the Jaskar range, slightly north of Greater Himalaya, and the Nanda Devi itself, the southern face, the Nanda Devi crest being in the Greater Himalaya. North of that, also we have quite a lot of Indian territory where you have Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve. And this map sort of gives the general layout of the land. The Nanda Devi is this larger polygon here, lower area, and the Valley of Flowers on the upper side. And then towards between these two parks and the line of control towards the Chinese side, or Tibetan Autonomous Body of China, there is a considerable cold desert habitat, which is again geologically and biologically very, very interesting. I will not get into detail about this park. Later on we can discuss. Now, second important national park, which was inscribed as World Heritage Site in 2014, is the Great Himalayan National Park in Himachal Pradesh. This park was inscribed based on the criteria 10, which says it represents the most important and significant natural habitat for in situ conservation of biological diversity, particularly high-value medicinal plants. Although the Great Himalayan National Park supports a large number of flora and fauna, including charismatic western tragopan, Himalayan thar, snow leopard, and so on. The landscape itself is majestic, and there are quite a few culturally important sites. So this is one important area. This map, if you have followed earlier or seen earlier, depicts this green area, depicts GHNP, Great Himalayan National Park. And the most interesting aspect of this park is immediately north of the Great Himalayan range, you have Pin Valley National Park, which is quite adjacent to this park, and there are there is only one important pass called Pin Parvati Pass, and I had the fortune of trekking across from Kulu to Parvati Valley and then passing through this Pin Parvati Pass, 5,319 meters, and it leads to Pin Valley. So these two adjacent protected areas represent a great gradient of Himalayan orogeny, its structure, and so many other features of nature. And of course, the landscape I don't have to describe again. It's so fascinating. Flora and fauna I have already told. And the buffer zone, or the lower part of Great Himalayan National Park, has quite a lot of villages spread across. It took quite a while for the state government to convince local people that once this area is inscribed as a World Heritage Site, it will bring name and fame to the area and the possibilities of more ecotourism, and more families will get benefited. However, because the population there is quite a lot, and the full potential of Great Himalayan National Park has not yet been harnessed in terms of ecotourism. As a result, a few families who used to depend on extraction of high-value medicinal plants for their livelihood, or some people used to graze sheep and goats in alpine pastures. They are not very happy with the situation, and the government, the state government, will have to do something very, very rapidly to bring them on board and to make them proud of this area. So this is one thing which I will be discussing a little later about most heritage site. Then third very important World Heritage Site in Eastern Himalaya in Sikkim is the Kanchananga National Park. It was inscribed in 2016 based on mixed criteria, cultural and natural. There are, cultural sites, there are monuments, so many other, outstanding universal values have been recognized. And this Kanchanjunga also happens to be one of the transboundary parks, because from the Nanda Devi, the Kanchanjunga peak, as you can see on the right hand top, immediately left of that peak is the Kingdom of Nepal, Nepal, and they also have a considerable area declared as a Kanchanjunga Nature Reserve. So it is the support of both India and Nepal, so that this area becomes an asset, a global asset, and people have commitments, nations have commitments to protect them. I hope I am clear so far. Hello?
Yes, no problem.
Okay. Now, one or two, cultural sites, cultural landscapes. You all must have heard about one very interesting cultural landscape in Arunachal Pradesh, the Apatani, the cultural landscape, which was inscribed in 2014, based purely on the cultural values, the way the Apatanis cultivate paddy and the way they manage their resources. That is one of the very important, value for the world communities, agricultural communities to respect and, replicate. So this is one. Then one interesting site, cultural heritage site is this property, the Darjeeling railways, mountain railways from Darjeeling to, from Jalpaiguri to Darjeeling. This is one interesting heritage. Now, moving on to some new proposed heritage sites in the Himalayan region, which are in the process of, initial nomination, and then the countries have to defend its outstanding universal values and inscription per se, and a declaration from UNESCO takes a couple of years. There is a rigorous valuation. I'll just give a few examples which are now proposed. For example, this Namdapha National Park in Arunachal Pradesh, close to Myanmar border, is at the tri-junction of India, China, and Myanmar, and its values are again exceptionally important, not only because of its gradient from 100-meter above sea level till about 5,500 meter at a span of 20-30 kilometers, and such a great compression of life zones and rich biological diversity, and very, very interesting biogeographic location. And if you see little north of Namdapha and further in the Brahmaputra Valley, if you have, I'm sure you know about this Namche Barwa and the Great Bend, the diversity of culture, nature, and everything makes this region really, really, amazing. And but this particular property has not yet been fully, documentation is needed. All the values need to be listed, but it is in the process. People are working in preparation of nomination dossier. Then next interesting proposal which is in pipeline is the cold desert cultural and natural landscape in India, in Trans-Himalaya, at the junction of Himachal Pradesh and Ladakh, but the actual boundary has not yet been fixed. Both the state governments, the Union Territory of Ladakh and government of Himachal Pradesh will have to agree whether they want to do serial nomination, let us say small areas in the form of garlands, so to say, multicultural, multi-sites, like just like Western Ghats was done a few years ago. In Western Ghats, starting from Agastya Malai till about northern part of Western Ghats, so some 41 sites were small sites were enlisted in the form of serial nomination, and so that became more like a cluster approach of heritage site. And for the cold desert landscape also, people are still debating. And as all of you have worked, most of you have worked in the Trans-Himalaya and higher Himalaya, the landscape here is again outstandingly beautiful. This is one imagery FCC of Eastern Ladakh. Lower side you have Spiti, Pin Valley and Kibber Plateau, and as you cross Parangla, you reach into Somarari and Sokar, two brackish water lakes, the lake basins, and then the Indus Valley here, and then north of Indus you have Ladakh range and Karakoram range, this Pangongso and so on. So starting from the lower edge of the greater Himalaya till about Karakoram, you have so many interesting natural features, starting from Zanskar to the Changthang Plateau to these lake basins to Indus Future, then ancient lakes and Ladakh range, Karakoram range, and everything. And I need not, describe it further. So the proposal a few years ago was let us identify few sites like Pin Valley, Kibber, Changthang Wildlife Sanctuary, Karakoram Sanctuary, and these small maybe uh, some features within can be then listed, and their unique outstanding values could be compiled, and this becomes one heritage site from the geology as well as nature as well as culture. So that is the idea. And of course, for me, I can go on for describing unique features of this cold desert landscape, not only distinct in terms of biogeography, because from the floral and faunal point of view, the Ladakh and the interior parts of Himachal represent elements from Palearctic, Tibetan and Sino Japanese elements, Great Himalayan elements, and Mediterranean elements. Then there are, of course, three distinct mountain ranges and one plateau. The Tibetan western extension of Tibetan plateau, that is Changthang Plateau of eastern Ladakh, the Janskar, Ladakh, and Karakoram, three mountain ranges. Cold arid ecosystem, which is also again very fragile. Fascinating paleo history, as other day some of you were talking about Tethyan seabed and ancient lakes and so on. Diverse habitats, unique assemblages of highly adapted flora and fauna, which can withstand -30, -40 degrees Celsius. For example, if you go during peak January and February in eastern Ladakh, while we humans, despite in a best of our gear, best of our clothing, we will still be frozen. But there are animals there like Tibetan wild ass or kyang or Tibetan antelope. They happily graze on the flat, snow-free areas, and they seem to be unaffected. So that is the kind of unique values and rich biocultural heritage of the local Changpa herders, the nomadic herders, the way they cope up with the harsh environment and so on, and their knowledge about managing their rangeland resources, their knowledge about how to survive in such conditions, what local medicines to eat, how to manage with very limited resources and so on. So these are values which make these sites very important. Then the next site, which is in the pipeline currently, where Wildlife Institute of India is working, is called Kailash Sacred Landscape. It is a transboundary landscape which is located at the tri-junction of India, Nepal, and China. The original proposal for this type of tri-national landscape was mooted by the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ICIMOD, in 2010-11. And quite a lot of progress had been made there. But because of some political issues and some points raised by Nepal and China, now government of India has asked India Wildlife Institute that we basically prepare the nomination brochure just for Indian part of Kailash sacred landscape, because district Pithoragarh has been in toto, it has been included under the Kailash transboundary landscape. So this area we are currently working on. Of course, this landscape has really amazing natural features, natural and cultural features. First of all, Kailash, as such, Kailash is located in China, so therefore India cannot really talk much about it, even though so many cultures and religions are linked. We have been associated with pilgrimage to Kailash. But in the larger sense, if we talk about Kailash landscape, it has certainly very unique geology. The Kailash region is the source of Asia's in fact, 5 major rivers, Indus, Satluj, Brahmaputra, Karnali, and Mahakali. And geologically also, the profile from lower parts of Pithoragarh along Mahakali till up to Kailash and beyond gives a great all layers from ancient to latest. And the scholars of you all, most of you are from the geology. Professor Augusto Ganser, the Swiss geologist, traversed from Pithoragarh right up to Kailash, describing the geology of this landscape in 1930s. And in the Tibetan part, he disguised himself as a Tibetan Lama, a monk, and he wearing this go or the gown, he collected rock samples, and this hammer he sometimes disguised in the form of a prayer wheel and so on. So it's very fascinating story written by him, The Throne of Gods. If you people want to read, it's a fascinating story of geology, his expedition, and so on. And I'll rather limit myself towards the biological features. There are quite a few interesting wild yak and musk deer and thar and so many other things. And from the Indian point of view, from on the India side, if you go to district Pithoragarh, there are the entire district Pithoragarh has a series of sacred natural sites. Small sacred groves, so many other interesting sites. For example, on the top left-hand side, there is a replica of Mount Kailash within Indian territory called Adi Kailash or Chota Kailash. And it resembles from one angle exactly like Kailash peak in Tibet. And at the bottom of it, there is a Parvati lake, which is said to be the replica of Manasarovar. And in that landscape, of course, within territory from India, you can see this sacred Om, sign of Om Parvat. And this is at the junction of India and Nepal. And this glacier on the top of mountain, and this thing, early summer, you will easily see such a outstanding natural feature. And culturally also, it's a very important and starting so many multicultural area, including this ancient Banrajis, the descendants of Kiratas, one of the most primitive and highly threatened tribe of India, 30-40 years ago, they were still hunter-gatherers. Only now they have come to close to habitation. Earlier, they used to live in the jungle, in the caves. In fact, under one of our projects in Wildlife Institute of India, we have tried to map the ancient caves which Banrajis used to use for their living. They did not build any house half a century before. So it's a very, very interesting area. These caves are not only their dwelling places, but also their temples are located within the caves, and it's a very mostly limestone, the lower middle area of this landscape, and it has quite a few interesting features. Slightly higher up in this landscape, there are still very, very interesting, like if you have heard the name Ascot Wildlife Sanctuary. This sanctuary has one area which juts from the Great Himalayan range to the Lesser Himalaya with very high peaks. That area also geologically very interesting. There are quite a few interesting cave temples here also, and one of the largest caves in Western Himalaya on the lower right side, where you see some goats. About 1,000 sheep and goats can stay in these caves, and that is this monolith above is again a very, very interesting facet, and for the geologists, I'm sure it will make very, very interesting case study to project how these things occur here.
What is the location? What is the location of these caves?
This is there is a sacred place called Chipla Kedar. If you have heard the name, Joljibi, little beyond Joljibi, there is a place called Baram. If you climb from Baram to Chipla Kedar, there is the name of the cave is Bhaman Udyar. Udyar means cave in Uttarakhand. And these caves, ever since, as you will recall, ever since our Prime Minister Narendra Modi meditated in one cave, all of a sudden caves are becoming, coming under limelight. And then upper hand, there is I have not seen such a wonderful cave temple on the upper right side. A huge a monolith, a huge rock piece seemed to have come out of this rock, and this on there are such rocks, and exactly here if you go, there are caves and there are many religious stories attached with it. So local people have built stone walls to cover the cave temple, and it is worth a pilgrimage here. If you just go there, it's much more fascinating as compared to Lake Holy Amarnath. And there are some glacial lakes, and in once in a while local people go on a pilgrimage. On the left side you see one procession, Jatra they call it, going to this religious lake for pilgrimage. And higher up along that valley, in the same landscape, we have famous Trishul Peak and Milam Glacier, one largest glacier in Uttarakhand, Milam Glacier, and Milam Village itself culturally very, very important, from where hailed a great explorer of early of 19th century, Pandit Nansing Rawat, who mapped the Tibetan Plateau and prepared maps for Survey of India. And so Nansing Rawat hailed from this village Milam, which is now dilapidated. You can compare the Milam Village, the largest village in Almora district, erstwhile Almora district. Of course, Almora has split and resplit subsequently into Pithoragarh, Champavat, and so on. But 100 years ago, Milam was the largest village in Almora district. The remnants of this village you can see on the lower right side. Now only about 10-15% households are occupied, and the rest are all gone. And there are a great deal of stories of Pandit Kishan Singh and Nayan Singh Rawat, and him and Ganser stayed in this village. So many other explorers, Champion, Edgy Champion, and Moorcroft, Schlagin brothers, and so many other people traversed through this trail to Tibet and so on. So I will now quickly summarize that it is all right to enlist the sites into heritage sites and promote ecotourism and promote livelihood, but as you all are aware that any unique or interesting site, if the tourism is not managed, it becomes unsustainable, and it becomes really a problem for the management authorities. Sometimes UNESCO says that if you have declared a site as a heritage site, then there are some other norms to be met. Local people have to also be involved in management of such properties. And nothing should be, for example, if it is a natural heritage site, protection has to be ensured. And there are so many other challenges, but looking at China, for example, China has themselves declared the national heritage sites rather than world heritage sites, without getting into those bureaucracy of world heritage sites by UNESCO. They themselves recognize and enlist as national heritage sites. And so there are quite a few challenges. Community participation. Let us say if it is a natural heritage site.
That's up, if you conclude it now, because some discussion has to be there also.
Okay. And then this is the last slide. What we need to do is wherever we are proposing heritage sites, first and foremost, local communities have to be made proud of those sites, whether natural or cultural. And of course, these I have just indicated few sites, but from the geology point of view, from other point of view, Himalaya is storehouse of so many sites, more sites to be recognized. You people have already initiated quite a lot of things, geoheritage sites. So if we can project them, it will be really nice. And encouraging communities for the conservation and making larger landscapes as in the form of a landscape approach of managing, and then finally awareness about nature's benefits to people, the cultural benefits and other ecosystem services flowing from such areas, and especially younger generation, young students, if they are encouraged to take up short studies in such areas, tomorrow they will contribute more. So with this, I end up with this Bhumi Suktam from Atharveda that says, "Pleasant be thy hills, O earth, thy snow-clad mountains and thy woods. On the earth I stand, unvanquished, unslain, and unhurt." Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rashab. Very nice. I think VP Mishra is only online.
Okay.
VP Mishra is asking some question, isn't it? I see the VP Mishra is online. Can you talk, Mr. Mishra ji? Mishra ji, will you talk? VP Mishra, your name is coming up. Will you speak something? I don't see you. Hello? I can't. You're garbled now. VP Mishra's name is VP Mishra's name is flashing, but he's not talking. No, Dr. Reddy. Dr. Reddy. Hello, Dr. Reddy.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You have any question here?
Yeah, I have just a suggestion, sir, to convert these areas into manageable geoparks. I think geology and then these experts from this background will come together and then they prepare a proposal. I think that will be a good this thing.
That's good. Good. Mishra ji, VP Mishra, are you asking some question? Mishra ji, are you asking any question? Why your name is flashing repeatedly? I can't see you, Dr. Mishra. Are you asking any question? हाँ चौहान साहब, I can't hear you. आवाज गार्बल कर रही है. हेलो हेलो, आवाज आपकी आ नहीं रही है. वीडियो भी नहीं आ रही है और ऑडियो भी नहीं आ रही है. हेलो
सर, बीपी मिश्रा साहब को
हेलो,
मैंने ऐसे मैसेज, मैं रवि बोल रहा हूँ. बीपी मिश्रा साहब को मैंने मैसेज भेजा.
अच्छा,
देखते हैं अगर
अरे
आप
नहीं,
आगे बढ़ते हैं.
अभी जो रविंद्र जी है ना, आरसी कौन है? रविंद्र चौहान साहब. चौहान साहब पूछना चाहते, रविंद्र चौहान साहब कुछ पूछना चाहते हैं ना?
यस,
उनका नाम फ्लैश हो रहा है.
So maybe they have to unmute this, sir. I think mic. That may be the reason that they are not able to.
I think there is a mic problem. They are trying to say something, but you can't hear it.
You should advise them through other contact that to unmute the mic.
Okay. Anyway, I think may I ask one question here? That how to go about having a legislation so that both geoheritage site and biocultural sites are preserved, because there are laws for conserving the biological reserves, but there is no law to preserve the geological preserves.
Yes, I will. Yeah, my submission in this is Already in the Himalayan region, there is a network of protected areas, about 30, almost 25 to 30% geographical area has been kept or set aside for the protection of biodiversity, nature, everything. But now the exercise has to be that let us say within these existing protected area network, whether how much the geodiversity has been protected, and which are the sites, geologically important sites, which remain outside the existing protected area network, which have to be recognized and which have to be listed. And there are, for example, I was talking about, so far, in the Himalayan region, we have sites based on nature and culture, but from the geological angle, we have not been able to recommend any site as a World Heritage site. So if this body comes up with a let us say, proposal that such and such area represents a unique geological feature which depicts the entire history, paleo history, and geological, strata. One can do that. For example, within Gangotri National Park, you have close to Gangotri, you have the Milam Valley, which is partly semi-arid area, and Gangotri group of peaks, and the nearby lower area there are important features. I am just saying. Similarly, there will be many more within the Shivalik region itself. Other day we were talking about the values of Shivalik region, how the from
Yes, sir. We have understood that. But you see, my point is that, for
yes,
example, the World Heritage Site, Nanda Devi Valley of Flowers, they're all part of the national heritage.
yeah,
But everybody knows about how to preserve the biological system there or botanical or plant system, but nobody appreciates how to protect the rocks there. The rocks
yes,
which are there,
yes.
they are building roads, they're cutting everything, they're making houses. All those things are not protected.
Yeah, but let us say if you take some biosphere reserves, Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, for example, if you see northern part of Nanda Devi Biosphere Reserve, there is a area called Lavthal, where there is a proposal to declare that Lavthal as a fossil national park, so that the army people or the other people, they do not unnecessarily collect and take away the fossils and the interesting stones and everything.
Wonderful.
Similarly, such things are there. If until and unless we people do not bring the threat to the geological structure or geoheritage, governments will not buzz, and we have to basically come up with a comprehensive map of Himalaya, indicating very, very important geological structures which are threatened due to anthropogenic activities,
Right,
and
right, right.
governments
Let,
certainly
let, let, let
agree.
me see. Excuse me, sir. Let me see if somebody is asking some different from different angle.
Sir,
Eh,
can
Yeah, you come
can
on.
sir?
You speak out.
Okay, sir. Regarding the geological sites, there are two scenarios which you have to visualize. One is having a national, the Geological Sites Protection Act, like we have for all archaeological sites. Till such time, in the absence of that, the other alternative for us, we have to get a site. Suppose if you feel that a particular site is geologically important, that site has to be declared as important site by Geological Survey of India. And with the help of that, we should approach the state government and request them to declare it as a protected area. In fact, that is what we did in case of Andhra Pradesh. This Erramati Dibbalu, we tried first with the GSI to declare it as a geoheritage site. After that, we pursued with the Andhra Pradesh government, stating that it is important and it is declared as a geoheritage site by the central government. And so now you notify it as a protected area. So now they have declared it as a protected area, and then that is being protected. So this is second alternative is the one which we can immediately implement, because a national act will take more time for us to come into force, because it has not been prepared and it has not been submitted to the parliament and all that. Though attempts have been made, but it is still not. So the only alternative is that we have to deal with the state governments after declaring it as, getting it declared as a geoheritage, important geoheritage site by GSI.
Okay, thank you. Sir, is there any somebody else is giving a comment on that? Anybody wants to ask question?
Can I respond to this?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's very important point. In fact, if you see, across the Himalayan region and many places, the botanists have come up with important plant sites. The birds have come up with the important bird areas, important plant areas. So important geological sites, if we do not come up with, there will be a loss, like in many future generations will forget, what, like for example, Dehradun, close to the Small Sea and Rajpur, there is a main that fault area. People of Dehradun do not know what is fault and what is the main boundary thrust, and what traveling from Mohand, some 30 kilometers from here, Mohand till Mussoorie and a little beyond Kalsi and those places, there are so many geologically interesting sites, but people of Dehradun are not aware. The government of Uttarakhand may not be really appreciating until and unless there is a strong letter from this.
No, sir. I'll intervene here. There is a responsibility also lies in the geology faculty of the institutions, which are there are plenty in Dehradun. Why can't they make the roadside logs, in which people can buy a small booklet from the bookshop and then they can go around and see it? From Mohand to Delhi, Mohand to Dehradun itself is a fantastically erosive erosion on the conglomerates. And from there, Rajpur to Mussoorie, they should be available.
That is why other day I was saying that the Uttarakhand Council for Science and Technology is in the process of establishing Natural History Museum in Western Doon. It has a wonderful facility. It has, already covered, made wonderful audio visuals for different aspects of Himalayan biodiversity and culture. But from the geology angle also, it will be wonderful if some agency can, contribute.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, anybody else who wants to talk? Ask question. I saw Ritesh Arya was there in the video. Is he here? Ritesh, you want to ask questions? VP? Nobody is there. Arun? I don't think whether you are getting the sound.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello. I'm VP. Speak something.
Yeah, VP. Yes, sir.
Sir, congratulations to Dr. Rawat. But I see that at least since those from biological side, they are doing a lot. And we from the geoscientific community must associate and with them collaborate so that geological features are also protected. But I have seen that they have done a lot, and we from scientific community have been able to have just 1 or 2 parks or 1 or 2 sites taken as National Geological Monuments so far in the Himalayan part. There should have been 100.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else you want to? Who else wants to talk? Ritesh, you want to talk to
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your face is not coming in. It's too big. Now it's okay. Now it's fine.
Good evening, sir. So, Mike, I have 1 or 2 small queries. You can, they're not basically questions, but queries. Like, I have worked in Ladakh and I have worked in Himalayas. So there are so many sites where I as a potential geologist, while exploring those sites, feel that these are sites which need immediate attention. So when I was doing exploration in Himachal, in the Kasauli areas, we identified a lot of fossilized sites, And then what happened was there was a lot of mining activities also going on simultaneously. So whenever we used to tell somebody that this is a fossilized site, the next time what happened was people started collecting it, and few years time it was not there. And now with this national highway coming up, we have lost many sites and a lot of sections because of this ill planning of these retaining walls which are coming up. But on the other hand, we have got many sites new also. My simple query is, I approached a deputy commissioner. We need this. So at that time, initially he said that mining is more important, and then now it is like road widening is more important. I also understand economic importances, because mining leases were also given by the geological department only, without putting any condition to it. So it was a legalized activity which was taking place, and now this national highway which has come up is also very. So no, you can't ask any question or do anything with this, So immediate importance is, yes, we need road developments, we need economic development, but if there are geological sites which are of utmost importance, they have to be preserved now and then and there. Because if I publicize the locality, then what happens is either the geologists themselves will come and just pick it up the specimens, and then the site goes for a 6, or what happens is the locals will come up, and so that site in situ preservation of sites, which we can call them as geo sites in the geoparks or the geoheritage structures which are making, that makes a lot of sense for the tourists, because they are not interested in fossils.
Okay, we have understood your point. You have made the point.
Second query is, like in Ladakh, we have the Ladakh government is also very keen on preserving this Lama Yuru, which we call the moonland on earth. तो उसमें बेसिकली क्या है कि आपने लामा यूरू साइट है, फिर वो सैंड ड्यून्स हैं, हमारे हुंगर में सैंड ड्यून्स हैं, दे वांट टू प्रिजर्व देम एज गिव देम एज जियोहेरिटेज साइट. We have lot of these two are very prominent structures there, and then we have lot of activities, like now we have discovered a lot of fossils from there. So my question is, how the government is also very keen now. The Ladakh, earlier it was like Jammu Kashmir, now Ladakh is coming up, and they are very keen. How can we immediately do things so that
I think let Dr. Chauhan answer you before you finish it, please, because we are getting late now. Let Dr. Chauhan answer you first. Chauhan sahab, Dr. Chauhan,
can I
just respond to it quickly.
I do not know whether any letter has gone to Union Territory of Ladakh government, but currently I am on the planning board of Ladakh Union Territory, and if this body gives me a small recommendation, I may be able to put forward, because we are in the process of making a development plan for Ladakh at present. we are covering different aspects, the culture, rangelands, protected areas, forestry, horticulture, and everything. If there is any other proposal, I can put forward to the Honorable Lieutenant Governor, because
Rawat sir, I have been
very,
working here for
very
the
nice,
last.
very nice, Dr. Chauhan sir. I think let somebody else also ask question if you want. Rest of it can be sent by on email or on WhatsApp. Who else wants to talk? Anybody else? Dr. Narendra Prasad? Oh, if
Dr. Narendra Prasad. Dr. Narendra Prasad.
Okay.
Please come in, sir. Dr. Narendra Prasad.
He wants to talk? Does Narendra Prasad was ask questions?
Yeah, and not a question, only suggestion, because of the limited interaction we had seen with this, presentation, and also some comments by people. I would suggest that marrying these two things, that talking in a geodiversity, and we are talking also a very advanced stage of conservation. So why can't you team up with the biologist conservationists to spin your own story, as Dr. Rawat was suggesting that you just give that whatever is needed for him to put it in Ladakh council meeting. This would be helping. So this kind of cross thinking is really is the order of the day. Instead of talking within ourselves and endlessly discussing about government this and government that, I think the approach is already there in as far as biology is concerned.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, so this would be the most practical kind of thing, as I think Mr. Reddy also was saying that we need to go with this kind of approach. I would recommend this is the approach perhaps we needed, and apart from that, as the new things are coming up, and since Dr. Rawat is in the planning board of the Ladakh Council, I think it will help for at least that part of Himalayas.
There has been a move in which Ministry of Earth Sciences had made involved in this thing, and the Secretary of Ministry of Earth Sciences held a meeting in which I was also invited, where they want to take the lead in giving sort of help to all of us for preserving these geoheritage sites. But the second meeting could not be held because of the coronavirus. It was held just before the lockdown was announced. Maybe after things are becoming normal, we can go ahead with some more activity on this.
Yes.
Should we wind up now?
Yes, sir. I think if it is, it can be, yes.
Okay, then I think it was a very interesting talk. Primarily, it is biodiversity preservation, and combined with or laced with geodiversity, and we should learn more from these biodiversity people to do what to do for the geodiversity. So I thank Dr. Chauhan for his wonderful talk, and also all the participants for making some input. And I'll ask other people to send their queries and on WhatsApp so that we can exchange our views. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.